Welcome students. I, Rashmi Pandey from Computer Science and Engineering Department, welcoming you all in my online lecture series, which is based on object-oriented programming methodology. So students, this is lecture number 2 in the series. In lecture 1, which you have found on your LMS account, I have given complete briefing about the topic, about your course. So while uh, going through that lecture, you can easily find the complete overview of your subject. Uh, Overview means what you need to study this subject, like prerequisites, and what is the logic behind the concept which is used in your subject, that is object orientism. Now, from today onwards, we will be considering your new topics based on your different units. So, today I'll be taking the topic Introduction to Object Oriented Programming along with the concepts used. So, let us move on. Students, in my this lecture, I am covering following outlines: prerequisite, objective, object-oriented programming introduction, object-oriented programming concept, assignment, learning outcome, and references. So, let us first discuss the prerequisite of the topic. Prerequisite means the information or the knowledge which you already have before learning this course. So, as it is written in this lecture that to get understanding about the concept of OOPS, the student first must understand or must possess the knowledge about C programming concepts. Also, they must know the knowledge of variables, like what are the variables, what are the types of variables, what are the different data types, etc. Also, students must know about the concept of functions. Here I am mentioning one thing, that if the student simply having a knowledge about the functions, then also it is okay, because in the duration of learning, if any problem will occur related uh, to the concepts, then we will solve that problem also time to time and simultaneously. So no need to worry if you don't know anything about or if you don't possess anything about the prerequisites. But it is better that if you have an extra knowledge, so that you can easily understand the concepts which is covering in your this subject. Now let us move your topics. So what is the objective behind this? Behind the learning of object orientism concept. Okay, behind the objective of teaching this subject. So students, the only objective to teach you regarding this topic is to give you the understanding of the concept of OOP. Okay, or you can say OOPS, object oriented programming concepts. So basically these are the building blocks of this technology which is called object orientism. So the building blocks include following four important concepts. Yes, you have found somewhere extra concept written also, like classes, objects, and two, three more types. But as far as I understand, then these four are the most important concepts of OOP. And these are inheritance, abstraction, encapsulation, polymorphism, etc. So as you can see here, these four are the most important topics or most important concepts of OOP programming. Okay, so during your lectures, you will be getting the better understanding, what is the meaning of these concepts and how to implement these concepts in your programming. This also we can see uh, time to time. Now, one more objective is to explain the concepts with some real life examples, because the concept of object orientism is saying that uh, if you are much more connected with the real life examples, then you can easily understand what the problem means. Okay, the problem uh, to which you are supposed to do programming. Okay, any problem, any programmatic problem, if you want to convert it into the program, then it is essential that you can relate that problem with the real life. Okay, and how we can do that, this we can understand in my upcoming slides. So these are the headings which I am going to cover in my upcoming slides. What is OOP? Examples. Why OOP? OOP concepts. Introduction. Class. Object. Abstraction. Encapsulation. Polymorphism. And at last, inheritance. So let us start the very first heading, which is what is OOP. So as I just said that OOP, the full form of OOP is Object-Oriented Programming Methodology or Object-Oriented Programming Concepts. So basically, you can say that it is a computer programming model, okay, which build around some data, or you can say some objects, okay, where you can think about the object first, or you can say which follows the strategy from bottom to top rather than top to bottom, which you have seen in the procedural oriented programming like C. So in C, if you possessing any experience, like if you have done some programs in C languages, then you found there that you declared your variables and you can easily access those variables from the main part, and you can declare functions, but you have not found any kind of binding over there, like everything goes here and there. So some kind of mess has been created while doing the programs in C languages, okay, where variables are not secured, where the things are not defined in terms of real world. So this is the problem which can be tried to tackle in the object-oriented programming, where the things, the related things are bound into one place, and where the problem can be seen like a problem which is related to the real world more. Okay, what does that mean exactly? It means that we can always give the examples which is much more related to the real life examples. Okay, so this concept will be more clear during my upcoming slides. So gradually you can develop the understanding of the working style of object-oriented programming. So object-oriented programming is basically saying that it is a kind of programming which think about data more, okay, rather than functioning. Okay, like which focus on what to do rather than how to do. So this is the basic difference in between object-oriented programming and procedure-oriented programming. In procedure-oriented, the main focus is given on procedures, in writing the procedures. But in object-oriented programming, the main focus starts from the data. like what the data is. Okay, so an object is basically a user defined data type which can be defined as a data field that has unique attributes and behavior. And you can say that the approach which is applied in this programming is basically for those programs which are more complex and which needs continuous maintenance and updations while programming. So the very first step, as I just said, in object-oriented programming is to decide what your data is. Like, if we can talk in terms of technicalities, then while writing your programs in object-oriented programming, you first decide what your objects may be. Okay, think about the object. Then you can start giving the functions which can work for the object. You can then further start giving the variables which can work for the object. So in this type of programming you can just think about the object first and then try to create the whole scenario which is revolving around that object. Okay, for example, if you can terms in terms of you, if you are taking yourself as an example, like if your name is Rita, so first of all I can think about Rita. Now I can just focus like what are the habits of Rita, and what are the likings of Rita. Okay, what is the timetable of Rita. So likewise I can think by considering you in the middle, instead of thinking like, okay, this is the timetable and this is the likings and these are the habits. Now how many of the girls are possessing these habits and how many girls are there who are possessing these timetables. So this is not my approach. My approach is, this is the girl whose name is anything like Renu. Okay, so Renu's qualities, Renu's timetable, Renu's schedule. So you can work for me as an object. Fine. Now let us just move further. Like as you can see here. So this you can consider yourself. This is maybe Rita or this is maybe Renu. So this object belongs to the class human. Okay. And the properties may be email or address, like which I have just explained. Your properties may be your habits or your time schedule, likewise. And these are the methods like verify or send mail. So everything is revolving around this object. Okay, everything is discussed in the form of after making yourself in front. Fine. Now let us move further. Why OOP? Okay, you till now you have understand that okay, this is fine, object oriented programming, this is okay, but why it is, this is in itself a very big question. So you have to understand that why we are using such concept. So uh, as again, if we can relate with your real life example, if your teacher gives you any assignment, what you people does, only two or three people can perform that assignment, and rest, or maybe a few of them you can say, can copy the whole assignment. So this is what, this is you are considering the quality of OOP. This is what you are showing, the quality of OOP. What quality? Reusability. Okay, so jokes apart, but this is the main quality. That is why we are using object oriented programming, which gives you the facility of reusability and maintenance, easily maintenance property. Okay, and you can say that it gives you the facility Like, don't repeat yourself. If you have once declared and write one thing, then there is not any need to write the same thing again and again. If you have written the thing at one time, then there is no need to write the same thing again and again. This is the thing, this is the most important power of object oriented programming. So benefits of OOP include the security, fine, and it prevents you to the unwanted access to data or exposing proprietary code through encapsulation and abstraction. So you can say that yes, it gives you the thing in more secured form. Okay, it is possessing those qualities which gives you the things in more secured form. Now, uh, the thing came into our mind that how this actually perform. So basically, object oriented programming is binding together the data and functions that operate on any object. Okay, so that none of other part of your code can get easily access, like what is happening in procedural oriented programming. In C programming, sometimes you found that you can easily access the variables uh, publicly in the main part, but here it is not at all possible. Like the data which you have declared in your class, you cannot execute directly that data inside the main until and unless uh, you have not used the functions, the member functions of that particular class. For example, let us understand this with the help of real life example. Like if you belong to any family, so you have full right to access all the things which is present in your house. But other than your family member, the outsider, any outsider person, if came into your house, then that person does not have any rights to access anything uh, without asking even directly belong to your house. So this is what the concept of OOP is saying. Like it is bound the data and functions, the related data and functions, you can say rather, into the one place, which you can say a class, which can not be accessible by any other part of the code. Okay, so what does programmer basically do to create object oriented programs? So it can make classes and create objects from the classes. So likewise, it can perform its functioning. So I think you can get the idea about object-oriented programming, like what the basic motto behind this. Let us understand, let us explore this topic more. So you can see here, if this is the class, this is the blueprint. Okay, blueprint means the main features which it is possessing, the idea behind to make this car and the engines and other the main standards which is decided while designing the car, okay, is basically opted by its objects. So if the car is the class name, then the object may be van, Audi or sports car. These are all cars, but having their own standards, having their own you know uh, qualities, but possessing similar properties. Like this car is having color also, this car is having name, this car is having model number, this car is having year of making. So as with Audi also, Audi is also having different color, but a color it is possessing a making year, the model number. Same in this, it is also possessing some model number, some color, and some year of making. So all these cars are different in itself, but sharing the common properties. Okay, and while sharing the common properties, these car is possessing different values. Like this car is of orange color, but it is having some color. This car is of green color, but color is the property. Okay, this car is of yellow color, but color is the property. So the color is the common property, which is you can keep in this class. Okay, inside the class. So class is what? It is having the collection of common properties. Fine. So this is what you can found here also. Like this car is having some common properties like year, make, model. Fine. So likewise, you can say that a class is what? A class is contain common properties, and while opting those common properties, we can create the objects. So these may be the objects, and all these objects are sharing these common properties. Like every car is having year of making, okay, year, making, time, the model number, and the color, but with different values. Right. Now, I hope you get the better understanding about what the object mean, and how this class actually works, and how the programmer actually think while creating the program which is rotating around your object orientism. So let us understand this concept more with the help of OOP concepts. So as you can see here, uh, previously we have seen these four concepts: abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism. Okay, but I have included these two also, so that you can get more clear understanding about the classes and objects. So students, let us explore this concept. Now, first of all, we can understand what the class means. Okay, till now we have seen this word class and the word object. Get a now clear understanding. So, class is a user-defined blueprint. Why user-defined? Because it is the scope where you put your uh, variables. Okay, the variables which are possessing similar properties. Okay, so it is the type, it is the user defined data type. So I hope you already know what is the meaning of this user defined data type, and what is the meaning of uh, predefined data type. Okay, so predefined data type are like int, character, and boolean, where everything has already been decided by the makers of these languages, where the space has already been decided, like integer take 2 bytes or float take 4 bytes. So that are not user defined. User defined data types are those whose space area has been decided by the user itself, like how many variables a user need to keep into that. It is completely based on the user. Like while making a class, if I need to put 3 variables, I can put 3. If I need to put 4 variables, I can put 4 variables. So likewise, it will become a user defined data type. And here we can say that a class is a user defined blueprint or prototype from which objects are created, and it is representing the set of properties or methods that are common to all objects of one type. Okay, like which you have seen in previous example. Okay, these are the objects of a class car, but this you need to remember that all these are cars in itself. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to say here. It represents the set of properties or methods that are common to all objects of one type. So here, if you can see car, if the name of the class is a car, then the objects which are making from this class should also be a type of a car, like which you have seen here. A Ford is an object, Toyota is an object, but both these are cars. And these are possessing or using, you can say, same properties and methods which are declared here, but with having different values. Because of course, Toyota is a car, of course it is having a color, but it is not mandatory that if the Ford is of red color, then Toyota will also be of red color. Maybe it is possessing some different color, and maybe its working style is different other than Ford. But the main thing is, yes, it is having a color and it is having a working style also, like Ford. Okay, so this is the basic difference in between a class and an object. Class is what? A blueprint or a prototype through which different objects of one type has been created. Now, let us understand the behavior of object also. So, it is a basic unit, as you have already seen, of object-oriented programming, and it represents the real-life entities. So, it contains state, behavior, and identity. So, identity means the name of the dog, state and attributes like breed, age, and color. Okay, and behaviors like barking, sleeping, and eating. So, name of the dog means maybe it's a Pomerian, okay, or maybe it's a bulldog. So everybody is having breed, everybody is having age, everybody is having color, but different breed. Like Pomerian, one dog is Pomerian, another dog is bulldog, and age wise also they are different. So but everybody is having uh, uh, these common attributes, and everybody is having these common behaviors, like every dog is barking, every dog is sleeping, and every dog is eating, but in other forms. So this is what the object meaning is. Okay, now let us move further. uh, you can also say like an object correspond to things found in the real world. For example, in a graphics program, if an object such as circles, square, many, and an online shopping system might have objects like shopping cart, customer, and product. Okay, so customer, like every customer is different. You are a customer, and other who are shopping simultaneously, so those are also customers, but the material they are picking may be different from the material which you have picked. So your behavior is different, your working style is different, but the important is you are having some behavior, you are having some picking style, and you are a customer whose name and credentials are different. What the common thing is, you are a customer like other customers. So who are you? You are the object. Okay, now how to declare the object. Declaring objects means or instantiation of a class. Okay, and when an object of a class is created, the class is said to be instantiated, and all the instances share the attributes and the behavior of the class. But the values of those attributes, that is the state, are unique for each object, and a single class may have any number of instances. Okay, so as you can see here, these are the four types of objects in the form of dog 1, 2, 3, and 4, and everybody is having same attributes and behavior, but their class name is dog. Okay, now let us move towards next concept, the third concept, which is called abstraction. So abstraction means you can say that simply you know uh, provides essential information to the outside world, and hiding their background details. Okay, that is to represent the needed information in program without presenting the details. So let us understand this abstraction by taking an example, some real life example. Suppose you know visit some uh, distributor who some car seller. Okay, so the salesman came in front of you, and that salesman showing you, very enthusiastically, okay sir, welcome, this is the car model, which kind of car you want to purchase. So after giving your choice, it can take you to the that particular model which you want to buy, and it can simply shows you about the color, about the working features, about the model number, year of making, the whole charges, you know uh, of making that particular model, and the market price, about the market price. Okay, so this is how that salesperson is showing you all the glowy things, and try to put those things in front of you so that you can easily impress, rather than uh, by showing you the car, by opening its engine, and by showing you the making procedure of that car, or any other thing which is basically happening in the workshop, or which is basically happened while creating that particular model. Okay, so this is what that the salesman is doing. It is only showing you the things which is important, and by hiding the things which is not necessary. Come to the second example. While looking any advertisement, how those advertisement came in front of you, like uh, if you don't just take an example of life boy. Okay, so what this soap says, if you can wash your hand with these soaps, then you can easily save yourself with the deadly viruses. Okay, so likewise you can easily impress with that advertisement, and just going to the market and purchase, yes, this is very good soap. So this is what the perfect examples of abstraction. They are simply showing you the things which are necessary by hiding the things which are unnecessary. Okay, so in C++, you can say, or in object-oriented programming, how these things are happening. They simply provides different methods to the outside world, rather than providing the data which they are hiding inside the classes. Okay, so this is the concept of OOP abstraction, OOP concept abstraction. Now come to the next concept, which is called encapsulation. So encapsulation means wrapping up of data and function together into a single unit, which is called class. So this is called encapsulation, and this feature keeps the data safe from the outside interferences and misuses. And in programming languages like C++, this concept is achieved through user-defined data types like classes. Now, polymorphism. What is the meaning of this? Polymorphism. So, as the name implies, poly. So here poly means many, and morphism means types. And you can take the real life example of polymorphism as the name of a person at the same time can have different roles to play. Like, I am putting myself as an example. I myself as a woman is playing different roles. Like I'm a mother also, I'm a wife also, I'm an employee also, and simultaneously I am doing a task as a daughter also. I'm paying my duty as a daughter also. So polymorphism means just declared once and used in many times. So one method with multiple implementation. Like for example, if you want to take the area, so you just declare the function name with the name area, and again with the help of this polymorphism, you can use the same function area for getting or for calculating the area of a triangle, area of a square, area of a rectangle. The function name will be same. So how these concepts will be implemented during your programming, this we will see in my upcoming online video lectures. So I hope you can follow my lectures uh, seriously and rigorously. So I need your attention. Okay. Now, what are the types of polymorphism? Let us understand this topic, polymorphism. So this polymorphism is of two types, compile time and runtime. So this compile time polymorphism means this is the static polymorphism, which means that you can compile the things first, and the things has been decided at the compile time, and runtime means the things have been decided at the dynamic time. Okay. uh, or you can say that at runtime the things have been decided. So polymorphism, as you can see, are of two types, compile time and runtime. And in compile time polymorphism, two more methods are there, method overloading and operator overloading, which we will discuss in my next video lecture. And in runtime polymorphism, we found virtual function and method overriding. Okay. Now, let us see today's last concept, which is called inheritance. So, inheritance says that it is the capability of one class to acquire properties and characteristics from another class. And the class whose properties are inherited by other class is called the parent class or the base class, and the property which is acquired by the class or you can say the class which has acquired the property of the base class is called subclass or child class. So inheritance is basically nothing but it gives you the facility or idea to reuse the same thing which you have once declared. And you found these types of inheritances. So number one is a single inheritance where only two classes are present. Number two is multi-level inheritance where uh, uh, you know uh, you can occupy the properties of your super class, okay, or your parent class, like in this form. Multiple inheritance means one class is acquiring the properties of two or more classes. Hierarchical inheritance means two or more classes are acquiring the properties of one single class. Hybrid means it is making, sometimes somewhere single inheritance is also present, some multiple inheritance may be present, or sometimes multi-level inheritances are present. So this you can say can possess the qualities of all types of inheritances. And at last, this is some extra type of inheritance which you can say the multipath inheritance. So multipath inheritance means if C is the class which is acquiring the properties of D and D class, then indirectly it is possessing the qualities of A class. So yes, this may be your next question, that okay, if C is acquiring the properties of D and D class, then yes, the properties of A is going to B also, and the property of A is going to D also. Then somehow it is occupying the redundancy. Okay, so this problem can be solved with the help of virtual functions. Okay, so this is also the concept which we can discuss later on. So, students, these are the concepts of OOP. So, in today's lecture, I have given you some idea about what the concept of OOP means. Okay, so I hope you can get a complete idea about what the object oriented programming is and what the concept of OOP means. Okay, so now let us come to the next segment of this lecture, which is in the form of assignment. And in this assignment, you just explain and give real life examples of all OOP concepts which is explained. And submission you can perform in the form of a written document which you can further convert it into PDF form. And under this link, assignment lecture number 2. Okay, so this you will found shortly. You just review this whole lecture and try to grasp the concept which I have explained. So these are the learning outcomes which I'm expecting from you people. Like you can observe and develop some sensible and logical skills from today's lecture and understand the concept of object-oriented programming. So these are the references which I have used. And finally, thank you. Thank you so much for listening this lecture.